Hello, everyone. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle, along with Bob Beckel, Eric Bowling, Dana Perino, and Greg Gutfeld is back. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and we're in a new studio for this week, and this is The Five. We begin tonight with the NFL murder-suicide and the unusual commentary that followed from NBC sportscaster Bob Costas. Now, on Saturday morning, Kansas City Chiefs linebacker Javon Belcher murdered the mother of his 3-month-old child, girlfriend Cassandra Perkins, at their home. Then he drove to his team's practice facility and turned the gun on himself in front of his coach and general manager. No one knows what set Belcher off, but Bob Costas thinks he knows the reason. Here's Costas on Sunday Night Football.
You want some actual perspective on this? Well, a bit of it comes from the Kansas City-based writer Jason Whitlock, with whom I do not always agree, but who today said it so well that we may as well just quote or paraphrase from the end of his article. Our current gun culture, Whitlock wrote, ensures that more and more domestic disputes will end in the ultimate tragedy, and that more convenience store confrontations over loud music coming from a car will leave more teenage boys bloodied and dead. Handguns do not enhance our safety. They exacerbate our flaws, tempt us to escalate arguments, and bait us into embracing confrontation rather than avoiding it. In the coming days, Javon Belcher's actions and their possible connection to football will be analyzed. Who knows? But here, wrote Jason Whitlock, is what I believe. If Javon Belcher didn't possess a gun, he and Cassandra Perkins would both be alive.
Police, however, say that Belcher got the gun legally, so he wasn't breaking any laws by being in possession of the firearm at the time. Now, Eric, there's a lot of fallout about this because people feel that it was inappropriate for Bob Costas to make this kind of commentary, editorializing during the game, but he's also done this before.
Well, he does. He editorializes, usually on sports. The question is, I saw this tragedy happen. I saw Saturday morning, I saw it. And I was like, how long before someone uses that pulpit to say, oh, it's got to be head trauma or something else like gun control? I never expected NBC to allow Bob Costas to come out and do something on their national air Sunday Night Football. That is a big stage. A couple of things to note. God Bless America was playing in the background. We have a Second Amendment right in America to possess handguns. That gun, or at least one of the guns, was acquired legally. Mm-hmm. Costas is kind of a coward, though. I mean, he didn't even say he believes this. He says he agrees with Ken Whitlock's assessment of it. It was Whitlock's. I'm sorry, is it Ken Whitlock? Yep. Yeah. Okay. Jason Whitlock. I'm sorry. Jason Whitlock's assessment of it. It wasn't even his own thought process.
So he endorsed Jason's statement.
And can you imagine? Last thought. Can you imagine if Costas goes on and spends 90 seconds talking pro-life? The place would be in an uproar. NBC would just probably shut the thing down, pull the plug on him.
Bob.
You okay?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Costas is exactly right. Those two people would be alive if it wasn't for that handgun in his hands. The culture of violence with handguns in this country is out of control. He's right about kids shooting one another. You didn't see that 20 or 30 years ago. If it's up to me, you'd ban all handguns, every one of them, burn them, get rid of them, keep long rifles for hunting, and if you want to protect your house, keep a long rifle. You don't need these handguns. And in the hands of somebody who's clearly unstable, who had a drinking problem, the fact that he could buy a gun legally.
Bob, he could have killed her with his bare hands. You talk about it. This guy's 6'4", 320. He could have killed her with his bare hands.
The underlying
issue. One a handgun that killed her. It was Javon Belcher that killed her.
Yeah, I see. Right.
Greg?
If it was a deadly flood, it would be the same as saying we need to ban water. There's no law. Here's the problem. There is no law that actually could have stopped him owning a gun. So what is Costas saying? He's talking about a total gun ban, which makes him a hypocritical buffoon, because he spends most of his life wandering in and out of New York buildings where he is flanked by people who are armed. He doesn't have to have a gun because he's protected by people with guns. He's a sanctimonious ghoul because whenever something like this comes up, he has to come up. It's pay attention to me. It really wasn't about the tragedy. It's about scoring points with other people in the media. Same with Jason Whitlock, who's such a chucklehead. This is a guy who, during the Knicks, when he was talking about Jeremy Lin, played off a stereotypical deficiency that I'm not even going to get into, who now refers to the NRA as the KKK. He is a bigot. Hey, he had to apologize for that.
What is a ghoul?
A ghoul is somebody who uses tragedy to build himself up. This was an unnecessary thing. But he's such a hypocrite because he doesn't have to worry about being armed. People are armed for him. We live in a building right now. We work in a building right now, Bob, where everybody has a gun outside. We are lucky. The rest of the American public doesn't.
Yeah, Eric has a gun in his back pocket.
If Javon Belcher's wife or girlfriend had a gun, maybe she'd be alive right now.
Okay, Dana, get your thoughts on this. Do you think it was appropriate commentary? His message certainly has sparked quite a controversy, and questioning people whether about his role, if that was the right thing to do.
Well, he can do whatever he wants with his airtime, and if that's what he felt that he needed to say at the time, the thing is that it doesn't make sense. It's a fantasy land to spend time, waste time thinking, if I had a magic wand, I would get rid of all the guns, and then we would have world peace, and it would be great. But the thing is that actually is such a waste of time. It's a waste of energy because we know that is not going to happen. The thing that would be more courageous would be to talk about what are the serious issues regarding mental health. What should an employer or a teammate be able to do to say, I'm worried about him. I think we should do something. We saw this last spring in Colorado. It is a cop-out to say, oh, I just wish the guns would go away. They're not going to go away. 470 murders in Chicago this year alone.
Right.
Where was Bob Costas for 90 seconds on NFL, talking about that?
And don't they have the tightest gun control? Wherever you find gun control, you find higher gun crime. That is a fact.
And also, if I could ask one other thing. When you say that they would be alive today if they didn't have a gun, could you actually say that to the mom and dad of the children who were killed last month by the nanny wielding the knife who then tried to kill herself? I mean, it's the same problem. It is a mental health problem and a violence problem. It is not the fault of the knife or the gun.
Let's talk about the violence for a second, because clearly I'm outnumbered here on
guns.
Don't worry, I'm not going to shoot you, Bob.
Yes, you are.
Maybe.
Verbally.
The average life expectancy of an NFL player is between 53 and 59. The average age of a male, white male, I believe, is 75 to 79. That means that there's something about professional football that costs people terribly. And part of it, I think, is going to get back to the question of concussions and head injuries, which leads to, in some cases,
ban football, Bob. Why don't we ban football?
If
you're going to ban guns, let's ban football.
You're onto something, though. Yes, there is a connection between hard-hitting sports, like violent impacts in sports, and people's life expectancy. But you can't make the leap to, therefore, someone's more susceptible or more likely to kill someone.
Well,
that's a leap that I'm not willing to accept.
And then you cannot legally prohibit their right to carry arms or bear arms. That's a constitutional right. So the problem is there was an issue here of domestic violence. There were some behavioral changes that were noticed, that he was having some problems with short-term memory after one game in particular, that his girlfriend had noticed that he was acting differently. There was problems between them, that he couldn't remember the last conversation he had with her, what he said to get her to move back in. So all of this preceded. It has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not he had a gun legally. There's other means by which to carry this out, like Dana said, if he was going to do this.
I wish I could forget the last conversation I had with my ex-wife, but actually I saw her over this weekend. It's a nice lady. Let's get back though to this question about guns. I know this is going to get a wrath of people going to be writing in, and I'm going to be beat up again, but so what? The fact of the matter is, in countries where they do not allow handguns, there is very little murder. Now, you can say that doesn't matter because that's not what our Constitution guarantees. It does not guarantee you the right to carry handguns.
Let me ask you something, Bob. If you know that 15 or 20% of the population is armed and another 20% of that are bad guys, do you not want to be armed?
First of all, there's more handguns in this country than
they're not going away, Bob. You can't take all the hand. What you'll do is you'll unarm law-abiding citizens, and the bad guys will still have the handguns.
So there's a justification. We can't do away with them because they're already here. Is that right?
That's one of them. The real
polio?
justification is because it's in the Constitution.
Yeah.
That's the real justification.
Don't compare guns to polio, please. The thing that kills me is how these stories generate within 24 hours after an event. And it always begins with this sentence: is it time to rethink gun laws? And you know who's raising that question? The media. It's always the media. They go, okay, they're going to spin it in a couple of ways. They're going to talk about, we've got to rethink gun laws. They never thought about it to begin with. They've never had a changed mind about it. They always want gun laws.
And plus, when you come out and you say that it's the fault of the gun, then if you do support the Second Amendment, I am not responsible at all or to blame for the fact that Belcher murdered his wife and left a three-month-old baby without any parents. That is not anybody's fault.
So you all are in favor of all these handguns?
No, that's not. That absolutely. You know what? Again, that is a cop-out to not deal with the serious issue about mental health and violence. Talking about guns for 2 or 3 days after this event is actually not solving any problems.
Yeah. They're tragedy trolls. These are people that live under a bridge until a tragedy comes out. They come out to get a name for themselves, and then they go back under there.
Can we make one other point?
Sure.
It's NFL Sunday. It's halftime. God Bless America is playing in the background. Do I really want Bob Costas giving me the dissertation on the Second Amendment?
Yes.
No, I don't. I want to watch
For
football.
him to say
Why does that take courage? How is that courageous?
It's courageous because he knows he's going to take a lot of heat for it. There's going to be people like you who are going to say, it's not right in the Second Amendment. We can do that, even though it was written 300 years ago.
Nice imitation of me. Well done.
Bob Costas is a doe-eyed sports version of Oprah. He probably holds hands with his wife while watching the Lifetime channel.
Well, you don't
Is that
hold hands
so
with your wife.
bad? What's wrong with the Lifetime channel holding hands?
I love the Lifetime channel. Just don't like Bob Costas.
All right. Well, Bob, keep in mind, because of what happened here, you can't strip everyone else of their constitutional rights.
All I can say is, there you go, Bob. Yo, man. I'm for it.
See, that's why the media do it, so they can get accolades from other people in the media. That's all this is about. It's all ego stroking.
But it's from Bob.
All ego stroking.
It's from Bob.